The Galactic Council's database contained 47 different warnings about Kepler 442c. The planet's equatorial jungle had claimed 3 separate survey teams from 4 different species. The Zephyrians called it the Green Hell. The crystalline Vortakians, who could survive in molten sulfur, simply labeled it inadvisable for carbon-based life. Even the notoriously stubborn Grimaldi had marked it as a no-fly zone after losing an entire battalion to what their reports described as aggressive botanical warfare. Marcus Chen read through each warning twice, then bookmarked the planet's coordinates. "You cannot be serious," Ambassador Veltar clicked, her mandibles chattering, and what Marcus had learned was the Zephyrian equivalent of exasperated disbelief. 47 warnings, human Chen. 47 civilizations have deemed this death world unsuitable for habitation. Marcus leaned back in his chair aboard the orbital station, scrolling through the planetary survey data. "Yeah, but look at these readings. Oxygen-rich atmosphere, perfect temperature range, abundant water sources, and..." He paused, grinning. "Absolutely zero industrial development. It's pristine." "It is pristine because everything that lands there dies," Veltar's translator crackled. "Everything non-human," Marcus corrected. "Has any human actually tried?" The silence that followed was telling. Marcus had been working as a terraforming consultant for the Galactic Council for 3 years, and he'd learned to read alien body language well enough to know when they were uncomfortable. Right now, every species represented in the room, from the towering Grimaldi to the floating gas beings called Whispers, was exhibiting signs of distress. "The jungle exhibits predatory behavior," rumbled Commander Kratok, his rocky Grimaldi hide shifting colors. "Plants that move with purpose, atmospheric toxins that adapt to biological filters, ground that swallows vehicles whole." Marcus pulled up the thermal imaging data. "The plants move because they're phototropic, following light sources. The toxins are probably just pheromone communication networks, which means the ecosystem is highly integrated, and soft ground is just soft ground. You guys have been trying to land heavy equipment in what's essentially a massive wetland." The assembled aliens exchanged what Marcus had come to recognize as their version of concerned glances. "What are you proposing?" asked Whisper of Dawn, the translator struggling to convert their subsonic communications. Marcus stood up and activated the holographic display showing Kepler 442c's jungle continent. "I'm proposing a test. Give me a small transport, basic supplies in 2 weeks. If I survive, we'll know the planet isn't as dangerous as everyone thinks. If I don't..." He shrugged. "Well, you'll have been right all along." 3 days later, Marcus was descending through the upper atmosphere of Kepler 442c in a modified shuttle, humming along to an old Earth song. The jungle stretched endlessly below him, a carpet of green so vibrant it seemed to glow. As he broke through the canopy, his sensors immediately began screaming warnings about atmospheric composition, ground stability, and what the computer helpfully labeled as unprecedented levels of biological activity. Marcus landed in a small clearing beside a crystalline stream, shut off the alarms, and opened the shuttle doors. The first thing that hit him was the smell: rich, loamy earth, mixed with the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers and the green scent of growing things. It smelled like life. The second thing was the sound, a symphony of chirps, buzzes, rustles, and what might have been singing from somewhere high in the canopy. "Well," Marcus said to his helmet recorder, "it's not immediately trying to kill, eh?" Over the next several hours, he began to understand why the alien survey teams had encountered problems. The jungle was indeed alive in a way that defied conventional understanding. Vines reached out toward movement, but not aggressively. They seemed curious, like cats investigating a new scent. The ground did shift and move, but it was responding to the massive root networks below, creating pathways for water and nutrients. What the aliens had interpreted as attacks were actually the forest's attempts to integrate new arrivals into its ecosystem. The breakthrough came on day 4 when Marcus stopped trying to fight the jungle and started working with it. Instead of cutting through vines, he gently moved them aside and watched as they stayed in their new positions, creating a natural pathway. Instead of using chemical purification tablets, he let the local moss filter his water, and discovered it removed impurities more effectively than his technology. Instead of synthetic shelter, he wove together fallen branches and broad leaves, and found they naturally repelled insects while regulating temperature. By day 10, Marcus had constructed a comfortable cabin using entirely local materials. The jungle had grown around it, incorporating it into the ecosystem. Luminescent fungi provided gentle lighting. A natural spring had diverted itself to flow past his door. Fruit-bearing vines had positioned themselves within easy reach of his windows. On day 14, when the alien rescue ship arrived expecting to find his remains, they instead found Marcus sitting on a hand-carved porch, sipping tea made from local herbs, reading a book while creatures that looked like a cross between butterflies and tiny dragons fluttered around his head. "How?" was the first word from Ambassador Veltar as she cautiously approached, wearing full environmental protection gear. Marcus looked up from his book and smiled. "Simple. Everyone who came here before was trying to conquer the jungle. I just asked if I could be neighbors." He gestured to his cabin, where flowers had grown in intricate patterns along the walls, and the roof was a living canopy that provided perfect insulation. Turns out the jungle wasn't trying to kill anyone, it was trying to help. The problem was none of you spoke its language. Within a year, Kepler 442c was reclassified from Death World to Specialized Human Colony. Marcus's cabin became the first building in what would eventually be known as New Eden, a city that grew with the jungle rather than despite it. The Galactic Council updated their databases to include a new warning. Humans may not perceive danger the same way other species do. Marcus, meanwhile, was already planning his next vacation to a planet the Zephyrians called the Screaming Desert.